welcome back. This video is going to be a little different because I actually recorded this once already, and then realized none of my mic audio got recorded, so we're redoing it again. So, going to be a little bit of shorter one just because I kind of went through everything already. But regardless, we are looking at the Grotmas Day 3 Advent Calendar Detachment for the Tyranids, the Warrior Bioform Onslaught. So this is going to be based around the model, the Tyranid Warriors with both melee and bioweapons. To briefly summarize my feelings on them, I'm not a huge fan of them. I just don't think they're tough enough or have the survivability necessary, even with the detachment. New rule giving them a 5-up invuln save. I think for the Terminator-esque unit that this model is trying to be, it just doesn't have the necessary staying power, not only to fill that role with just kind of middling damage overall, but in terms of survivability and the necessary equipment to make it where it's worth having a detachment built around it. But let's quickly go over their profiles real quick. 6 movement, T5, natural saving throw of 4, 5-up invuln with the detachment, 3 wounds, leadership 7, and OC 2. For the melee warriors, which are generally kind of seen as the better ones, they have warrior claws and talons, twin linked, so making a reroll on the wound roll. 6 attacks, 18 in total for a normal squad of 3. Hitting on 3s, strength 5, but you're going to be in synapse because it has the keyword, so it's always going to give you that +1 strength. So strength 6, AP 2, damage 1. Nothing bad, but that damage 1 on a melee specific unit kind of does hurt. Just pumping out the damage overall, because outside of infantry, punching up into a vehicle is going to be a nightmare. And just not having the damage necessary to stick for long term means you're going to be tied up in combat or shot to death by that vehicle. For their ability, the Adaptive Instinct, select one, whether it's your turn or the enemy's turn. On your turn, you're going to unselect until the end of phase. Each time the model makes an attack, reroll hit roll 1. You're going to get that extra attacks up in so that you're going to get more, or put a little bit more pressure on the damage throughout. And then for the battle regeneration, and phase, anytime a saving throw is made for the model, or during the fight phase at least, reroll a saving throw 1. So that's going to help with a little bit of the stickiness to get through. Sorry, I accidentally hit the mouse. Keeping them alive a bit more, but I just don't think it's enough. And then for their ranged cousins, the ranged warriors with the bioweapons, their weapons, again, not that great for what you really kind of need in this current meta, because it's a very vehicle and monster heavy meta, and not having the necessary strength or AP or even damage to really make them fear you just doesn't feel that great. The Barb Strangler, not bad, 36 inches, D6 +1 attacks, hitting on 4s, strength 6, AP 1, damage 1. Not bad, good for taking out infantry, very good for taking out a pesky infantry unit. But outside of that, not great. The Death Spitter, 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, strength 5, AP 1, damage 1. Again, nothing special, nothing terrible, but... And then what I would use also for the last warrior, the Venom Cannon, get that little bit of extra damage in. D3 attacks, hitting on 4s. Strength 9, AP 2, damage 2. It's going to be your main kind of punching up weapon into dealing damage for monsters and vehicles. Still nothing great, but it's not the worst. And then for their melee, 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 6, because of Synapse, AP 1, damage 1. It does kind of bug me that their melee cousins, the only difference you really get is 1 more attack and 1 more AP. For a dedicated melee unit, it just doesn't feel like it's that big of an upgrade in their melee. That's another thing that kind of bugs me with these units. And for their ability, it is Adaptable Predator, so it's able to shoot and charge the turn it fell back. A good ability, but on a unit that just doesn't feel that great of shooting, it is what it is. Oh, the last kind of key character is the Winged Tyranid Prime for this attachment. 12 movement, that's a great moving up the board pretty quick. T5, so slightly stronger, or it's on the same level as your warriors that you're going to be equipped with. Natural save of 4, 5 up and bone, 6 wounds, so you have a little bit more health. Leadership 7, OC 1. Doesn't have a ranged ability, which kind of sucks, so you're having to get in melee, so you're going to want to equip it with the melee warriors. 6 attacks, hitting on 2s, this was good. Strength 6, Strength 7 with Synapse. AP 1 and damage 2. So the AP 1 kind of sucks. I wish it was AP 2. But the damage 2 helps out a bit more, so you're able to kind of check wounds off a bit better. When it's leading a unit, sustained hit 1. So that's going to be good to get a little bit of extra attacks in for those the melee warriors. So you're getting a little bit, or you should at least. Sometimes the dice just say no, but realistically, you should be able to get a couple extra hits in with the warriors, even if they're not that great of hits. Every bit counts. And then Death Blow, when it's destroyed in a melee attack, if it didn't fight on a 4-up, the model can stay, make its attacks, and then die. A good ability. A lot of the Gene Stealers actually have that kind of ability too. But it's a good one. The Winged Tyranid Prime, a cheap unit, it's good to have. But overall, I'm just not a fan of kind of the build around this detachment. But let's go through it real quickly so you can kind of see where I'm coming from. So like I said, the Tyranid Warriors and the Winged Tyranid Prime have a 5-up invuln save. So better just survivability all around, especially for a unit that didn't have any in the first place. But I just don't think it's enough because of their natural 4 save. I wish they'd put it down to a 3. So that we had a little bit more of leeway room for AP1, AP2 attacks that you're not constantly being forced on your invuln save. And then for keywords, the Tyranid Warriors and the Ranged Warriors all gain the Battle Line and Tyranid Warrior keyword. And while they're not Battle Shock, Tyranid Warrior models have an OC of 3 instead of their OC of 2. So a little bit better of a sticking power for objectives. For their enhancements, the first one, Synaptic Tyrant. It's for Neuro Tyrant only. They're in the Battle Declaration Formation step. The bearer can be attached to warrior units. So I'd equip it to a ranged unit, kind of give you that little bit extra of Overwatch and a little bit chunkier damage to protect the Neuro Tyrant in comparison to something like a Zone Throw, who honestly somehow has a better invuln save, but just kind of worse overall save. I think same amount of wounds actually. Let me look. Sometimes. So yeah, natural 4-up invuln save, 3 wounds, T5. So actually, they're pretty much the same, honestly. Maybe it may not even be worth it, but it kind of depends on your preferences for this thing. We're going to assume that you're going to want to run warriors, whether you like the model or you think it's worth it. That's just going to be what we're going to go with. And then for ocular adaptation, the second enhancement for the Winged Tyranid Prime model, each time the model makes an attack in its unit, add 1 to the hit roll. So instead for the melee warriors hitting on 3s, you're hitting on 2s. A really great one, especially for kind of that model you're looking for. And if you want to have them with some shooting ones, getting those 4s down to a 3 is always going to be helpful to have. I don't think it's particularly worth it for that instance, but there may be some value in it that I don't see. For the third one, Sensory Assimilation, another Winged Tyranid Prime enhancement. Each time an attack targets this bearer's unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll. Another good survivability one. Again, I don't think it's enough just with the saving throw and everything. As considering fact, there isn't a whole lot of survivability built around this enhancement, just with the stratagems, unlike with Invasion Fleet that has the 5-up Field No Pain. This just doesn't feel like it's enough. It could be useful, especially for getting in with the warriors. Again, I think that's going to be the ones where you want to see it, but it could be useful on ranged warriors as well, keeping your shooting units in a bit longer. And lastly, Elevated Might. This is the 30 point, so this is the big one. So this goes for all Tyranid models, not just the Warriors or the Winged Tyranid Prime. The Bearer is able to, or units in the side of the Bearer models unit is able to advance the turn and charge the same turn. So I think it's good. Honestly, I can see this being on Old One Eye and his Carnifex brood. I think that it's going to be more useful seeing him getting in rather than a different model. This could definitely work for like a Winged Tyranid Prime or like, honestly, equipping it to any of the kind of the more melee monsters, a Norn, a Maleceptor, anything like that. This is going to be useful for. But overall, I think this is going to be best served with Carnifexes. But of course, you're sacrificing some of your warrior formations in order to get those Carnifexes in. And then for stratagems, we have Thematic Amplification. So during your shooting phase or the fight phase, select a Tyranid unit that hasn't been selected yet for shooting or fighting. And then if it's a Warriors unit, select one Endless Multitude. So that's going to be Termagants, Hormagaunts, Neurogaunts, Gargoyles, the Warriors themselves. I think there's like a couple other models that have it. Anything, if that unit is not battle shocked within 6 inches of the unit you've selected, until the end of the phase, each time a model makes attack, reroll a wound roll of 1, and if you selected another Warriors unit, you get to reroll hit rolls as well. So really, that's going to be best suited for your ranged Warriors, kind of forming a firing line, shooting next to each other, because you always get to reroll wound rolls anyway. There's a hit roll. Let me look. I don't tell you wrong information. Melee Warriors. You're rerolling hit rolls of 1 anyway for your melee warriors, so it could be useful having the reroll wound rolls of 1, but you're not really getting the full benefit out of it. Comparison to where if you're choosing another ranged warriors. So I think that's where you're going to want to kind of see this more of. Spontaneous Hypercorrosion. Again, your shooting phase or the fight phase. Choosing another Tyranid that hasn't been chosen this fight yet. To the end of phase, add 2 to the strength characteristic, so it doesn't specifically say warriors. And then you get to add 1 strength characters to the melee weapons if it's a Tyranid warrior or a Winged Prime. So what I've seen people kind of meme and suggest is putting it onto the Tyrannofix, making its Rupture Cannon strength 20 instead of strength 18. So even on some that are more medium and heavy vehicles, Rupture Cannon, 2 attacks, hitting on 2s because of heavy, wounding on 2s because T20 compared to like most vehicles being T10, AB4 damage 6 plus 6, or D6 plus 6. It's just going to evaporate anything that it touches. So I like that. I think it's a fun stratagem. I just don't know how well served it's going to be in this detachment overall. But that being said, we'll look into like for the ranged warriors. That's going to get you up for your not your venom cannon. That's going to put you at strength 11. That's going to get you over that T10 hump that a lot of units struggle fighting up into. So that's going to make it 3s, AP2 damage 2, which helps out a lot. And same with the Exocrine, actually. Their Strength 9 gun is going to push it over into the Strength 11, so you're going to be hitting on 3s. And this is just such a good shooting platform that, honestly, it makes a lot of sense. It's definitely one you're going to want to kind of plant on him a lot. And then Restorative Impulse during the command phase. Select 1 Tyranid Warriors unit that's below starting strength. Return the model to it. That's just good to have overall. Gives your units more staying power and a little bit more damage. For 1 CP, I think it's definitely worth it. I do like it, but overall, again, with the Warriors not being as tanky as they need to be, in my opinion, it does raise some questions on it. For Synaptic Micronodes, next one during the movement phase. You select 1 Tyranid Warrior, so you are stuck to selecting Warriors for this. Select an objective marker that is within your range of that unit. That objective marker becomes sticky, essentially, and remains in your control until your opponent's level of control over the objective marker is greater than yours at the end of the phase. So, kind of my interpretation of this is that, let's say I have a Tyranid warrior squad nearby, and I choose to sticky the objective. And a squad of, let's say, somehow Terminators then deep strike in and just kind of walked over onto the objective. Because their OC is still lower than the warriors who are nearby, I should still be able to keep that objective marker throughout the end of the phase instead of losing it because they touched it, like most sticky objectives go. That's my understanding of that. Another good one, it's great for scoring. I like it as a whole. And for the Tyranid warriors, it makes sense giving them an extra OC from the detachment. I do think that one is a pretty good strategic ploy. And then Parasitic Payload. During the shooting phase, select one Tyranid ranged warrior from the army that hasn't shot yet. Until the end of the phase, that unit ignores cover on all weapons. And then after it's resolved its shooting in that phase, select one enemy unit hit by those attacks, and until the end of the turn, they cannot have the benefit of cover. Another great one, similar to the Salamanders one, that takes away, ignores cover after being flamed. I do really like this one. I think it's great, so that way you don't have to worry about certain models being protected just because a couple of them have a pebble in their way or something. Really like the stratagem. I wish it wasn't stuck completely with ranged warriors, that you could have a little bit of leeway. But again, a warrior focus attachment, it makes sense. Lastly, Synaptic Shield. This can be your defensive one. On your opponent's shooting phase, just after the enemy has selected targets, as long as they target the warrior units, because once again, you're putting this on warriors. Once the warrior unit has been selected as the target of one or more of the attacks, until the end, if that unit is the Tyranid warrior unit, select one Endless Multitude. So it's going to be, once again, your Hormagaunts, Termagants, Neurogons, Gargoyles, things of that nature. Other warriors. As long as that unit is not battle shocked and within 6 inches of your selected unit, until the end of the phase, each time a ranged attack is made on those units, if the strength is greater than the toughness of that unit, subtract 1 from the wound roll. So once again, we've seen this actually a lot. It's the Death Shroud Terminator's own natural ability that makes them a bit more tanky overall. I do like this. It kind of sucks that the Death Shroud, even though I do play Death Guard, get this naturally in comparison to a lot of other detachments have to pay for it. Overall, I do like it. I just don't think it really gives the sustainability and survivability it needs to make the warriors the ultimate, like, swarming heavy force that they're kind of going for with this. This detachment is basically a Space Marine 2 detachment for the Tyranids. If you've played the game or even seen a few of the live streams I've done of it, warrior spam, it's a lot. It's a lot. And this definitely feels like a cinematic attachment for it. So that way, if you're doing like a narrative campaign or like recreating a battle from the game, you have an exact detachment used for it. Overall, while I don't think this is a bad detachment, I'm not a fan of it, and I don't see it being hugely popular or hugely played. Overall, I think they're just Invasion Fleet, Synaptic Nexus, Vanguard Onslaught are just better. Even some instances, what's the other one? I don't remember top of my head. Crusher Stampede, that's what it was. Even Crusher Stampede sometimes feels better than this. Of course, it's going to take some time and practice, and I'm sure there's going to be a good few people who are able to run with this attachment and really make it work and really show the true strengths of this attachment. But overall, for me personally, I'm not a huge fan of it, and I don't see a terrific road ahead for it. But because I already recorded this once, I already have a list made for it, but we'll just go through that list real quick. So for your Warlord, going to go with the Neurotyrant, give it the enhancement that allows it to go with the ranged warriors, equip one to them. The Hive Tyrant, I like having just to have that free stratagem. If he's within 12 inches, your target, it's going to be good to whether you want to give extra firing support for the ranged warriors, or you need a little bit more survivability with the other warriors, whatever the case may be. Having him along is always going to be good to have. Running two Wing Tyranid Prime, one each is going to have the detachment. They're both going to go with the melee warriors. I think it's better overall to have the melee warriors go with them. A squad of Hormagaunts and a squad of Termagaunts, giving you kind of more endless multitude targets to bounce off of for your stratagems. For infantry, we're looking at a Lictor and a Neurolictor. They're two just really great units for backline, deep striking support, things like that. I think they're always going to be good to have. And for the points cost that they are, I think it's really good. The Pyrovore, I like having it for deep striking support and Overwatch, protecting that home objective while your other units go out and do their thing. For 40 points, I think it's worth having. 3 squads of Tyranid warriors with melee weapons, 2 to operate with the Wing Tyranid Prime, and 1 to go off on their own. Overall, I think that's what you're looking for overall with something like this. And 2 squads with ranged weapons. So 1 acting on their own and 1 going with the Neuro Tyrant, and the Hive Tyrant will have its Tyrant Guard with it. Now, as for monster support, I'm choosing to go 2 Exocrines because of their shooting and just the extra strength characteristic stratagems to go with them. And plus, with the rerolling hit rolls of 1, they're just such a strong unit. I think you have to take them. Same with the Maleceptor, another great unit that I think you really just need to take with it. Lastly, I'm putting in a Tyrannofex, again with kind of the increased strength for shooting. And just now, especially in the vehicle meta, with the changes they've made to the Tyrannofex, I think it's always going to be good to at least have 1. And he's going to feel like your really big anti-tank support. But overall, that's kind of my list that I'd say you'd want to run with this and give the enhancements where you need them. And then you could slot in another unit of maybe then a Wing Tyranid Prime to go with the 3rd Warrior Squad, or the squad of Hormagaunts, Termagaunts, or a different infantry support you'd want to go with, or another battle line, whatever the case may be, or maybe even another ranged warrior squad. Whatever the case may be, it does give you that extra leeway for points. But overall, that's kind of my thoughts and opinion on attachment. I'm looking forward to see what else they come up with. I'm not going to cover in the next couple ones. From what I know, they're like Necrons. AdMech came out today, the day I'm recording this. And what was the other one? Thousand Suns. I don't play them. I don't know anything about them enough to make an opinion on them. But that's going to be it for right now. Thank you all so much for watching. You are all dismissed.